Count me in, but.
Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very safe and well out there. Thank you as always for joining us. And if you're listening to the show for the very first time, of course you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Audio Boom, we're across a range of different audio platforms. We're of course on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And of course, this season we are also live on YouTube. Delighted to have 3 of our returning regulars to the Last Word on Spurs. First up, back on the show, I've got the wonderful Jason McGovern. Jace, how are you?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I've seen the fire from Tottenham today, and I had 5-2 on. It was Oria, and evens it was Stelios. But I'm not sure which one the bookies are paying out on yet.
It remains to be seen, Jason. I'm sure Paddy Power or all of our good betting odds, William here, will be in touch and let us know who will be involved and how that goes down. I must say, I've also got my crazy training instructor back alongside me. I've got the wonderful Lee McQueen, fresh from the wonderful beauty of Spain. Lee, how are you?
I am, yeah, sporting a bit of a tan. I've got the cheeky monkeys behind me, and the famous Spurs shirt, if you can see it that side. And look, raring to go, like loving it, mate. I've done all the research. The blue book is back. The crazy train is back, and we're live as well. Jason's going to be loving it all season. Don't you worry about that. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it. The transfer window, the aftermath of the transfer window. Let's see if we can get you smiling, Rick, by the end of the pod.
I hope you can. I hope you can. And also back, and delighted to have him back on this channel. I've got to say, last night, my experience on being on his channel was just one that I'll never quite forget. I've got the wonderful Chris Cowden. If you haven't obviously seen his channel, then please go and check it out, because Ramon Vega, brilliant. I'm still having afterthoughts because of what happened on that show. Chris, how are you, firstly?
I'm very good, Rick. Nice to see you again. And I can tell anyone, if you haven't seen my channel, it is normally very professional, but last night, I don't know what happened.
Absolute carnage. It was brilliant.
It's fair to say, if you haven't gone and seen the Ramon Vega, I was going to say tribute at them, but it was actually Ramon himself on Chris's channel. Go and check it out. It was the most craziest 1 hour and a half I've ever been involved in. When I went to go and talk about Tottenham, and it ended up becoming about microphones, and my God, it was just echoing, and Elvis was involved. I've just never seen such a crazy amount of carnage. So, I mean, I feel like we're doing the show 24 hours later about it, what it maybe should be about, Chris, right?
Absolutely, but we've got to be positive. 3 wins out of 3 in the Premier League. Yeah. Nuno's done a great job so far, and lots of positives to take so far, because of course over the last 18 months or so there has been so much negativity. So it's nice to see so many Spurs fans with a smile on their face.
Totally agree. No, I totally agree. And that's actually where we're going to start, because, listen, so far after what was a chaotic managerial search, 72 days later, we went from Fonseca to Gattuso. At one point, it could have been Conte even. But Spurs landed Nuno Espirito Santo as their new head coach. And let's be honest about it, 3 wins out of 3, 3 clean sheets. That's involving Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez. Yes, involving Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez. Chris, I'll actually start with you for this one. Has it surprised you at all how Spurs have started the season under Nuno, and what's impressed you most about Spurs' new head coach?
Well, what he's done, Rick, 3 wins out of 3. I said to you, on various occasions that I think Nuno should be winning the Manager of the Month award, which of course has been nominated for today. To get performances out of the likes of Davinson Sanchez and Eric Dyer, he deserves the award for that, because 3 clean sheets with that same defence that every single Spurs fan has slated, stating that the likes of Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez should head out the club this summer. 3 clean sheets out of 3 in the Premier League, that is no easy feat. So, I'm very, very impressed with what Nuno's done so far. He's kind of instilled this confidence again. Everyone's got a smile on their face again. And what we've done in the transfer window, a number of players heading out the door, players that we expected to head out the door, like Serge Aurier, Moussa Sissoko. He's got to get that fantastic atmosphere again in the dressing room, and I believe he's doing that. And Rick, you said on my channel last night about the likeness of Mauricio Pochettino. I believe that they are very, very alike in so many ways, and it's all about now building confidence. And this season for me was all about club direction. and I believe that we are going in the right direction again. Have we done enough in the transfer window? Probably not to reach that top 4 spot. I know we're going to get into that, but we are going back in that right direction. And that is really, really important for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think coming around to you, Lee, when you look at the comparisons to Mourinho, I know it's very, very early days, but Mourinho, 4 1-0 league wins for Tottenham under Mourinho. So far, 3 under Nuno Espirito Santo. And there does seem more of a stillness to Tottenham. I know it's very, very early days, but if you would have thought to yourselves, and again, this is not trying to be too critical of the defence, if you think that would be involving the likes of Davinson Sanchez, Eric Dyer, 3 clean sheets against the likes of City, Wolves, and obviously, like I say, the game we had only recently, it's just been, I think it's been very, very good from Tottenham. A good start, solid start, Lee. What do you think of it so far?
Yeah, all of the above. I mean, definitely a solid start. You can't argue with that. I mean, I think when people start saying don't get carried away, well, I'm going to get carried away, quite frankly, because why wouldn't you want to celebrate the fact that you've just got 3 wins? Like, it doesn't mean we're going to win the league. It doesn't mean we're going to win trophies, although trophies might be coming, Chris. But what it means is that we've started really well. Like, what's wrong with that? We've got to the first international break, played 3, won 3, haven't conceded a goal. Why wouldn't we all be positive about that? Ridiculous. I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. And to pick up a point that Chris, you just said, maybe we haven't done enough in the transfer window to get to the top 4. But why? We was only 5 points off the top 4 last season, and we didn't have the transfer window. And Jose Mourinho didn't even play Dele Alli half a season. Now Dele's ripped to pieces. He's got like an 8-pack. He's running more than anyone else in the team. If we can get him scoring goals, and by the way, he played 3 and scored a goal already. Could have easily had one at the weekend. Why can't he get back? He's got 51 Premier League goals under his belt. He's only 24. So, it's like having a new player. And Dembele, if you can get a tune out of him, I'm sure we'll get into it. But, I'm sure we can do something here. I'm not saying we're going to win the league, but what I'm saying is we should be aspiring to get into the top 4, especially after our start. And for those pessimists that think, we were going to go down, or we might not even make the top 10 this season, well, hang on a minute. We're a quarter of a way of staying up already with the 9 points that we've got. So, if you want to look at it down that way, then we've done all right. I think from a Nuno perspective, with everything that has been thrown at him, every single thing that he's had thrown at him, the Kane situation, the actual him being kind of 6th or 7th choice in its own right, everybody writing after transfer window going on. I think he's done an amazing job getting his hand, if you like, around the players, putting an arm around the player and actually managing them and coaching them. I think he should be applauded for that. And I think, fair play to Nuno for coming in under difficult circumstances. Very strange, actually, with Tottenham Hotspur, football club over the last kind of probably 30 years, but let's go back 20 years. Every manager that we've had that's been our first choice hasn't been that great. And then actually the people that we've come in as almost our second or third choice end up being brilliant. I'm thinking of the likes of Martin Jol when he came in, Jack Santini and the mess that was that, Juan de Ramos, and then obviously Harry Redknapp coming in, and he was fantastic for us. And obviously Pochettino after the AVB scenarios and all that sort of stuff, Pochettino comes into the football club, and many, including myself, I went on Adrian Durham and Darren Goff's show on Talk Sport, and famously said, that's it, he's just a yes man, I don't want him, he's not a winner, I want a Rafa Benitez or anything like that. But Pochettino, how wrong was I? And Poch came in and he was absolutely amazing, like probably our best manager that we've had in the modern era, obviously without winning trophies, we all know. So, I think that Nuno has done a phenomenal job in coming in. There's an air of, I don't know what it is. There's an air of almost confidence about him, but with no arrogance. And I just think after Jose Mourinho is the complete opposite. And that's what we needed right now. We wanted a direction. We wanted a plan. We wanted a project, or I certainly did anyway. And I think that's exactly what the club set out to do. And to be honest, after the debacle of last season with the furlough, with the ESL, with everything that's gone under the bridge, it feels like we're finally going on an upward curve rather than a downward spiral, and that can only be applauded.
Yeah, I must just say that Nuno has got nominated for the Manager of the Month, the dreaded curse. I think there's every fan out there hoping he doesn't win this competition.
Well, not being funny, Wick, it might be a curse, but if he doesn't win it, then you may as well pack up and go home, because the bloke's 1 foot on the trot and even conceded a goal under all the circumstances we just talked about. He's actually nailed on to win that, and if he doesn't win it, then something's wrong.
He definitely deserves that award.
Yeah, he does indeed. Jace, let's come around to you.
Peter.
Let's come around to you, Jace. I'm interested to know, Jace, from your perspective about the style so far of Spurs' play, because I think it's fair to say that one of the main things for you as a fan, which I know obviously of being around you for such a long time, is that Spurs have to play a certain brand of football that is an entertaining front foot brand that it will keep you interested despite whoever's in charge. Therefore, I think that's one of the things at the moment that fans are just a little bit unsure in terms of what they've seen so far. Nuno's told us it's going to get better. What have you made so far of the brand of football when Nuno start to his season at Tottenham?
Well, I think from Nuno's point of view, we all know he wasn't first choice, and the 70-odd days and the fact we let him talk to Palace and Everton tells you that. And I think that Nuno needed a good start to win some people over. And you can't do better than winning 3 out of 3 with clean sheets that we think was our downfall last year. So, he will win the manager of the month. It's whoever gets most points wins manager of the month. So it's as simple as that. So he may be nominated, but I can tell you now he's won it. It's simple as that. The fact he's got Eric Dyer on there. I mean, we've criticised Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez. We've said they're deadwood. They need to leave the club. Don't get me wrong. We probably all expect them to make mistakes over the next few weeks, but that's you can't deny the fact that those two have kept 3 clean sheets plus the Arsenal game pre-season as well. So mind you, that's not so difficult to do, I suppose. When you're playing teams down the bottom of the table, you should keep a clean sheet. But from that point of view, it's been good. The style, I mean, let's be fair, we're 3 games in. We're 3 games in. The Manchester City game, I don't think it matters what type of style you play, they have the ball. So it's very difficult to impart your will on them. Wolves was a similar game to what it has been under Pochettino, what it was under Jose, where we've started quite quickly in all those games and then got pushed back. And in fairness, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, one thing I will say for Man United, they want to attack all the time now. But Ole soon got himself ripped to pieces there, but got a 1-0 win. So, that's not down to the style. The key one was Watford at home.
Yeah.
Would we score first? And then what would we try and do? And okay, it was 1-0 and we've scored from a free kick, but we didn't do like we did last year where we went 1-0 up and then just got everyone behind the ball. And when we tried to break, tried to just send Kane and Son forward with 9 other players behind the ball. It wasn't attacking with isolation. When we tried to go, it was getting numbers forward. And I don't think we sat on that Watford game. We had the better chances to score. And in fact, after we went 1-0 up, I don't really remember Watford making Hugo do anything after that. We kept the ball pretty well. So I think it's a work in progress. He's not going to click his fingers and get all his ideas across, but I was certainly happier watching us play Watford with a 1-0 win than I was watching us play Fulham at home last year and games like that where we're playing teams in the bottom 3 and sitting on a 1-0 lead. And Palace away, the last 2 years, we used to go there. We've always faced a massive battle at Palace, but Pochettino's sides always seem to come through it. And then in the last 2 years under Jose, we've scored early through Kane in both games, sat on it, invited pressure, got caught both times. I think Schlupp scored in both years, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So, when we go to Palace Saturday...
Wasn't it?
Exactly. And when we go to Palace next time, let's get on that front foot. And if we go 1-0 up, it will be interesting to see how we manage the game then. But it's early for Nuno, but you just have to be impressed with the results and 3 clean sheets so far.
Yeah.
Just quickly on that, Rick, if I can, just interrupt you on that. You've always said about Palace, being a tough game, not a tough place to go, but it's always been a tough game for us. Same as Wolves. I actually done a load of work on stats on all the way back as when Adebayor scored in an away and Defoe got. We won 2-0. And I think it's Adebayor's debut against Molyneux 2011, I think it was. And even that was a really tight game in terms of possession, shots on target. I mean, complete different manager, complete different players. But I don't know, them 2 clubs just seem to have tight games. And it's the same with Palace. Everyone remember that unbelievable worldie that Dele Alli scored against Crystal Palace when we beat them 3-1. But what most people forget is in the 81st minute, we were 1-0 down. And it was a 1-0 situation where we were losing to Crystal Palace, and then obviously we turned it around towards the end. And the point I'm making is that even under Poch and even under when we were title challengers, it was still tough. Every game in the Premier League is tough. Against Watford, we had more shots on target than we had ironically, since the Sheffield United game, actually, I think it was at home, for 2 different managers. That was Jose and Ryan Mason. And, you know, they're tough games. Like, they're tough places to visit. Teams want to set up. When it's breaking them teams down. I remember sitting in the South Stand watching Tottenham Brighton. This is at Tottenham at home in the new stadium, and it was the 93rd minute. Loads of people had already gone. Boos going around the stadium. Ericsson pops up, scores, win 1-0. This was still under Poch. This was still under prime Tottenham. Yet it was still happening. So for people to moan about the style after 3 games, I just think it's unrealistic. You know, the fact of the matter is, it's about building momentum and getting that platform starting to move forward. And the biggest compliment I can pay to Nuno is just giving him credit for what he said directly after that game. And he was asked, "Are you happy with how we're playing?" No, there's a long way to go. We need to improve in these key areas, and he knows what needs to be done. Paratici knows what needs to be done. We've got a plan, and that's what makes me excited.
Can I just come in, Rick? I can't understand. I can't understand any negativity when we've got 9 points out of 9. We've got a brand new manager. Harry Kane is staying at the club. You know, so many changes are being implemented at the moment. Of course, we're going through this so-called rebuild. You know, during the summer, a lot of us thought that, yes, we're going through a rebuild. It's going to be a very, very rocky season. You know, not starting the first 3 Premier League games, winning the first 3. Eric Dyer. You know, if I told you a couple of weeks ago, Eric Dyer will be up for, you know, Player of the Month in August. You know, you would never have believed it.
No, you wouldn't. No, you're right.
As Lee said there, 3 games in the Premier League. You know, what is an easy game in the Premier League? There's no easy home game. There's no easy away game. They're all hard.
But easy.
You know, look at, well, perhaps that one, Jason. But look at the Wolves away game. I know it was kind of a smash and grab, but you know, full credit must go to the team. We defended very, very well. You know, in that game, I remember seeing blocks from the likes of Oliver Skipp, Dele Alli, and Eric Dyer. You know, putting their body in front of the ball. You know, playing for the team and wanting those 3 points and that hunger. And I love to see that hunger when every Spurs player wants to win the game and you know, wants to win those 3 points. And I've loved the attitude from a lot of the players so far this season. I've been very, very impressed with it. And I think that is what Nuno has really implemented very, very quickly, you know, whilst being at Spurs, the attitude and the hunger and the desire
fitness,
to win.
Isn't it, Chris? And the fitness as well. I mean, Paratici's comment earlier, you know, they wanted to get the team fit. It's very strange, isn't it? When a new management team comes in or coaching team comes in, the first thing they do, I mean, even if it's the same in work and whatever, you look for quick wins, not in terms of winning football matches, but you look for what can I fix really quickly to get a different result. And what I think they've looked at is the fitness. Can we get these players fitter? And Paratici said earlier in his interview, if you've seen it already on Spurs via the club, that actually one of their key things is to get the players running harder, working harder, getting fitter. And I absolutely think that you could see that. I mean, against Man City, I mean, I might be getting carried away on this, but I thought we were outstanding. I literally thought, and I remember tweeting before the game and talking to you lads and whatever before the game about, you know, momentum is so huge. Like, to have some momentum at this stage of the season to get them 9 points on the board. Like I said earlier, for the pessimists, if you think you're going to go down, well, we've only got to get another 30 points now, and we're definitely staying up. So, you know, we're quarter of the way there. So it is really important to get a good start, and we've done that. So fair play to him. And
the other impressive thing as well is about going for that second goal, because although we've won all 3 games,
we have to do that.
We have gone for that second goal. Sadly, we haven't got it. But we've gone for it. And when you think back to the days of Jose Mourinho, Lee, I'll tell you what, if I had £1 for every time you put in our WhatsApp group, all we've got to do is get that second goal and, you know, put the game to bed. You know, how many times you
John
say
says it well, doesn't he? John Venham from Lily White Rose says it all the time. 2-0 and the game's done. You know, and I think that was.
Well, I'm not sure with Tottenham, but yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, it may be true. We've been 3-0 up and lost 5-3 a couple of times.
Yeah. 2-0 with Tottenham.
I think it is that philosophy that Jason you said about before as well, and Chris, you're echoing, is going after the second, because it gives the opposition something to think about all of the time. And that's the point. You know, that Wolves game last season, we drew 1-1. It was virtually a carbon copy. We went 1-0 up really early. Then we sat back. We got battered. And then the Sace, or whatever his name was, popped up from a bloody corner as well, like a set piece, which is absolute criminal, and it went 1-1. This year we learnt from our mistakes, and there's your little improvements. You know, Jace always says it. We've said it for years on the podcast, haven't we, Jace? Small margins or fine margins, and that's your little margin. We've changed that. We've turned 1 point into 3. Now, can we go and do that again? Can we go and do that again? And that's what it's little steps. So that's why we're positive. I'm not sitting here saying that we're going to win the league. What I'm saying is I'm really happy for the start that we've made. Well done, Nuno. Long may it continue.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, like I say, Spurs are the only team with a 100% record so far after the 3 games. And Nuno, the first manager to win his first 3 league games since Arthur Rowe back in 1949. Again, you've got to say it's been a really, really good start. And along with that good start, of course, we had the closing of the summer transfer window. So for our listeners on audio, we are going to go for a very quick break. And then when we return, we'll be discussing that summer transfer window. For you watching on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us on, an international evening. We'll be discussing that right now. So let's get into that, because it has been an interesting summer transfer window, to say the least. It officially came to a close on Tuesday evening, where we were all lovely sat together there, all with our phones in our hands. I had Lee telling me, I think Lee about 9:30, it's not over, Rick. It's not over, but it's not over yet. But it's not over yet. But it's not done yet. It's not done yet. But it was done. It was done about a couple of hours ago. But it ended with Emerson Royale being Spurs' last signing through the door. And we knew there was a need to reinforce the squad after missing out on the Champions League back in May, following the struggles under Jose Mourinho. In, of course, come Fabio Paratici to bring 5 new signings to North London before Tuesday's 11 p.m. deadline. It wasn't just about incomings, however. Spurs had a host of experienced players hanging out the door as well. They included Toby Alderweireld, Eric Lamela, Moussa Sissoko, Harry Kane, of course, the transfer saga of the summer. He ended up remaining a Tottenham player. Tungi Ndombele, who wanted away, also ended up remaining a Spurs player. And again, we saw 2 years on another step in the right direction of what we described as being a painful rebuild. So I'm going to start with Jason on this. Jace, rate me this window out of 10.
Well, first of all, it's nice not to see all these transfer gurus that you have eating out the palm of their hands when they serve it from the crack of their what's-it. So that's for sure. I don't have to watch that ghastly transfer show with those 2 idiots on TV talking rubbish every night. And certain other people that come on podcasts and things that recycle old stories, and people that we're never even interested in signing become ours, and Tommy Yasu's going to sign for Spurs, and just please. So I'm pleased it's over for a couple of months. As a rating,
can I ask one question, Jace? Do you ever? Because I know listeners always ask me this. Do you ever enjoy it?
What, a transfer window?
Yeah,
I like seeing when the player rolls the shirt up and we know who we've got. But, every year, it's not just Tottenham, is it? It's, if you're an Arsenal fan, if you're a Man United fan, you're linked with 200 players in the window. And you know full well that you're only going to sign 3 or 4, which means 196 stories are absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Jace, do you think you enjoy it more than Steve Hitchen or not?
Probably not. Probably not. I like Steve Hitchen at this time of year. He's got the right idea about the transfer window, that man. No, I probably rated it 6 out of 10, but not in a bad way. I just felt that we probably only did half of what we needed to do overall, but we did a lot more than I expected us to do, if you see what I mean. I famously talk about trying to get 17 players out the door. Well, you're never going to get 17 players out the door. So we cleared a lot of the deadwood, not all of the deadwood, but we cleared a lot of it.
Yeah.
Part of the transfer window is retaining players, and to retain Son for 4 more years, and to retain Kane for, regardless of what people think, to retain him for 1 year, or I'm still quite confident he'll play there next season as well. But for whatever those reasons, keeping those 2 was huge. The flip side is that we didn't replace the goals of Vinicius and Bale, who scored 27 goals between them last year. Those 27 goals have gone.
Yep.
I know people, and Lee may well point out, but Dele's back. But Dele's not playing in quite the same role that he used to before. So, Dele's not going to get forward and score 15 goals from that position. Probably unlikely to. So we've got to replace those goals. And if Kane's injured, there's the problem. Because, yes, Sonny can play down the middle, but who fills in for Sonny? So you've got that. We need more goals from Bergwijn, Mora, Dele, all those players this year. And the other conundrum that we're still left with is in central midfield, where we've actually lost Sissoko. So, you know, whether people think
does it feel like a loss? I mean, does it feel like a loss?
It's still a body down. It's still an option down, and we're still with the conundrum.
Many would argue about the word body, but okay, I'll let you have that one.
But we're still down with the conundrum of what do we do? Where is that creativity? Where's that lock picker? People will still say, well, and Ndombele needs to play as a number 10, but in a 4-3-3, you don't really play with a number 10. So you've got that problem. Can we get more from Giovanni Lo Celso? Can we get more from Ndombele? And it's a massive part of the team to fix. So, you know, we haven't really addressed those two issues in the summer, but we ended the window with 4 right backs, although one of them has since left. So there was work that we needed to do that we didn't. But like I say, a lot of the deadwood and things being cleared and players retaining was a good window. So 6 out of 10 for me.
Okay, I'm going to come around to Lee in a second, but Chris, I've got to ask you for what we and listen. You go to. I've got to say, make it clear. You go to every single Spurs game, under 23s, under 18 games. You're there. For as much as you always saw Fabio Paratici on that phone, whether he's playing Candy Crush or Tetris, do you feel? Are you happy when you now look back at the window that for you Spurs are in a much better position? And the question I want to ask you now is: are Spurs closer to breaking into the top 4 than what they was before the window had opened? Generally, when you look at the top 4 now and you look at the way Chelsea have strengthened with Lukaku, United have got Ronaldo, City, although they haven't got a striker for me, they've got goals all over the pitch. Liverpool, okay, they've made a couple of signings, but do you honestly feel confident that with the signings that Tottenham have made, that brings us any further closer to really having a crack at the top 4? Bearing in mind Nuno's great start to the season with Tottenham.
It doesn't really, Rick, no. And, you know, to be realistic with it, you know, when the likes of Manchester United are signing Ronaldo, you know, we're a million miles away from that. And all of us Spurs fans wanted this window to be that we were going to get back into Champions League football. You know, we all want Champions League football. When we look 2 years ago, we were in the Champions League final. Last year, we played Europa League. Now we're playing in the Europa Conference League. It is not where we want to be. Of course, we want to be back playing Champions League football. I believe the very best that we could achieve this season with the current squad is Europa League football. I think that all of us in this rebuild want Champions League football, but I just think that it is unrealistic for the players that we've signed. Don't get me wrong. I think this has been a good window for Spurs. We are in a transition, and I don't think that we were ever going to do everything in one window. It's going to take 2, 3, even 4 windows. You know, it's going to take time. Fair play to Fabio Paratici for getting a number of these players out the door. Serge Aurier, Moussa Sissoko, Eric Lamela. You know, all of us Spurs fans have criticised these players on a number of occasions in the last year, 2, or maybe even longer. But I agree with Jace, and I've said this many times on my own channel. When you think Gareth Bale 16 competitive goals last season, Carlos Vinicius 10, and when you think that 26 goals between the two of them. In my opinion, I felt that we needed an alternative striker, backup striker, whatever you want to call it. We needed another striker. We've been in this position so many times in recent seasons, even under Pochettino, where we haven't had a backup striker, which is very, very disappointing. Creative midfielder, again, what Jay says about Ndombele, Lo Celso. Lo Celso, we don't know his best position. I just think that those 2 signings have been hugely disappointing in so many ways, because we all know that, particularly with Ndombele, he's got so much quality in him. We just want to see it week in, week out. The 2 of them, people have raved about saying, I'd love to see them two in midfield. The 2 of them very rarely complete 90 minutes, which is very, very disappointing. But going back to the transfer window, the business that we have done, I think that we've gone out and signed 5 very good players. They are players for the future. They're not necessarily players for this season. Do I think we're closer to top 4? No, I don't. But I understand that we are going to have to just wait a little bit longer. Pochettino said that it was going to be a painful rebuild. A painful rebuild isn't just saying, okay, we'll whack loads of money in it in one summer and then we'll be a Champions League team again. Because realistically, if we went out and spent £50 million on Traore, would it make us closer to be a top 4 team? I don't believe so. So how much money did we need to spend in this transfer window to be a top 4 club? It would have been an awful lot of money. But I love the work that at the moment that Fabio Craschi is doing. I love the fact that he is a football man. I love the fact that he is so passionate about the club. He wants to win. He's talking about trophies. He's talking about future. I love all of these things that he is trying to implement at the club. As we spoke about Nuno, very positive, lots of positives to take so far. I would actually give this transfer window a 7. Because of the players that we have released as well, because we have said for so long, so many of us talked about Eric Lamela. Do you know what? The only one player that I feel that we could have probably got one more season out of before he left, and that's Toby Alderweireld, particularly that we've only signed Christian Romero. One centre-back has gone out the door, one centre-back has come in. Really, I think that it would have been great if we had kept Toby at the club for one more season. But the other disappointing thing for me is 2 players that I would love to have seen Spurs sign. Danny Ings, £25 million. When you think for that money, for that cheap price, £25 million, you know that you're going to be guaranteed goals in the Premier League. The Europa Conference League, League Cup, FA Cup, the 4 competitions we were in, Danny Ings would have been a perfect player in those matches, even to play alongside Harry Kane. And Marcel Sabitzer, for the price that Bayern Munich have spent on him, perhaps we could have done a little bit more to persuade him to join the club.
You went to Bayern. Yeah. Come on, give the club a break here. He went to Bayern Munich. If Bayern Munich rings you up and you play in the German league and you go,
that type of player with that experience for that type of money, because the prices that those 2 players cost who are mentioned, that is in Tottenham's price range. So they would have fit in very well.
Danny Ings, I completely agree with, because he went to Aston Villa, with all due respect. He didn't go Bayern Munich, but you can't compete with Bayern Munich. You can't do it. And people think that we can are deluded. No offense, but they are. We are not a Bayern Munich. And this is the thing that gets me about transfer windows and everyone on social media. And I love it as well, by the way. Social media and stuff. But people are sitting there going, "Oh, we need to do more, and we need to do more." We shipped out 13 players in this transfer window. 13 players. Lots of people were saying we need to get rid, we need to take Deadwood, whatever you want to call it. I think personally they've done well for the club, but it's time for them to move on. We've had 5 people coming in. Paratici specifically said earlier that we had an objective, a target to renew the team, to get young players in, young talent with big potential, and we want to go and win something. That's what we want to do. So that's fantastic. But the profile of player in terms of Sabitzer, I agree with. I think he's a brilliant player. But when Bayern Munich comes in for him, what are you going to do? You can't compete with that. And then the thing that annoys me the most about all of us in terms of fans or social media, whatever, is when we can't land a player like that, we have a go at the board or we have a go at the club. Oh, right, well, you didn't get that player. Well, it's virtually impossible because we're not in the Champions League. That's why, again, coming back to what our objectives for this season and winning stuff and so on and so forth, unfortunately, we are back to trying to build again. So for me, it has to be to try and get back in the top 4, because once you get in the Champions League, maybe a Sabitzer would have come to Tottenham if we're in the Champions League. But it's very, very difficult to get these players to come to the football club when, if you're competing against, with respect to like a Leicester, who are doing brilliantly, by the way, and I totally respect what they're doing. If you're competing in the transfer market against a Leicester or even a West Ham or even Liverpool or Chelsea versus a Bayern Munich and a Real Madrid and a Barcelona, I mean, it's chalk and cheese. We're not shopping anymore at Harrods. We're shopping at Waitrose. Do you know what I mean? We're not shopping at Tesco's or Asda, but we're shopping at Waitrose rather than Harrods. And we can't go to Harrods at the moment until we're back in the Champions League.
The two things on the Danny Ings thing that drive me mad is people saying, well, if you were going to keep Kane, you don't tell him we're keeping Kane. When Danny Ings signed for Villa, the whole media had Harry Kane going to Manchester City. So you just say to Danny Ings, you're in the team. And you make a gentleman's agreement, because you can break a gentleman's agreement, It is possible to break one. So you don't have to stick by a gentleman's agreement. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, that people say, but he's on 150 grand a week, and we that's too much money. But when you actually look at it, I think they paid 25 million, and if you work it out, the 150 grand a week plus the transfer fee comes to 48 million quid over the 3 years. If I said to you, Tottenham will sign Danny Ings for 30 million and we'll pay him 120 grand a week, you'd take that, you'd say, well, that's a much better deal. But you put those two figures together, it comes to 48 million, just the same. So the fact that you paid 5 million less for a transfer fee means it just goes on his wage packet. So, and nobody would have complained at that deal. Harry Kane's just scored for England, by the way, made it 2-0.
Yeah.
So, the Danny Ings one, I think will haunt us. It absolutely will haunt. And you could have played Kane and Danny Ings together even. So,
all day long. All day long.
That's the one.
Especially when the club are saying, we want to sign these strikers to play alongside Harry Kane, Martinez, for example,
exactly.
or Milanovic or whatever. Well, hang on a minute. You've got Danny Ings there, who's a proper Premier League striker, get you 15 minimum goals every single season. Maybe 12, looking at his stats from last year. But look, he's a proper Premier League striker. And look, I'm not banging a Danny Ings drum anymore. I've done it so many times on the show, but so my feelings on it. But I just think with a Sabitzer thing, I just don't think we can compete with a Bayern Munich, personally. That's not where we're at the moment.
But Bayern only come in late, though, Lee.
I know what you mean, actually. You make a fair point.
That was my point. So I think it's about our ambition. About signing players like that, because in the last few years we've been heavily linked with him, and I think that he would have come to Spurs. Of course, when you're thinking, Tottenham Hotspur or Bayern Munich, Champions League football or Europa Conference League football. Of course, when you've got that choice, but I'm talking about before he had that choice of joining Bayern Munich.
Yeah. Fair play.
But Chris, that's the public choice. I mean, I'm sure Bayern Munich were talking to him after Christmas.
But what my point is,
those discussions are taking place a lot more than just in the transfer window, aren't they?
Yeah, my point is about how much money these players, realistic money that Spurs will spend on quality players. I just feel like we've missed out on 2 quality players at a very cheap price.
I think we've got to say on Danny Ings, though, we had obviously Michael Bridger from Sky Sports only a couple of shows ago. He did make it clear that the wage demands that Southampton were asking for Ings were quite incredible for a player that obviously is quite injury prone. I'm not sitting there saying that we shouldn't be signing another striker, because I think you can see the question on the screen there, which I totally agree with, from Jay Ashraff. He says, top show, guys. Thank you so much. Let's come to you, Lee, on that one, because obviously you're very positive about the transfer window. I'm not sitting there saying we shouldn't be, but of course, he says, what do we do when the inevitable Harry Kane ankle injury turns up, or if worst case, both Son and Kane are out for a long spell? I mean, we have got Dane Scarlett, but let's be honest about it. Young kid who I think should be used in that Europa Conference League is more of a development piece. Are you not concerned by the fact that we've got one striker at the club?
I think, for sure. And I agree with all of you in terms of the one striker piece. It's for some reason been a problem for Tottenham. You go all the way back to Llorente, and even when Llorente was on the bench, sometimes Poch would play a false 9 and not even play Llorente, and you just think, well, what's the point in that? And he'd become a bit of a cult hero, didn't he, at Tottenham, with the Champions League escapades and all that sort of stuff that Llorente did with us. But even so, we signed him as a backup striker, 15 million, I think the fee was, wasn't it? Something like that from Swansea. And that term of backup striker is that's the bit that's hindering the football club. Do you know what I mean? It is backup. So somebody made a point on there. Kent Capers talked about, you're making the assumption that Danny Ings wanted to come to Tottenham, but maybe he didn't want to come, like, for whatever reason. Maybe he doesn't want to play second fiddle. So I do think that the transfer window, look, I would give the transfer window, I agree with Chris, a 7 out of 10. And for me, the transfer window has been a positive one, because the amount of people that we've shipped out of the club. We have struggled to get rid of players for 4 seasons. Paratici has come in, and within 2.5 months, he shipped out 13 players. That is a really, really positive thing to look at. I know all of us, and I'm the same as well. All the fans out there, I'm exactly the same. I want to see new faces, new blood. I want to see people come to the football club. I want to see them ripping up the league, and of course I do. But the 5 signings, the 5 players that we've got incoming, I think every single person that's watching the show or listening to the show today, or whenever you listen to it on your dog walk tomorrow, would agree that we needed to shore up the defence. There's no doubt about that. And although Rick, and I take your point as well, we probably needed or wanted 2 centre-backs, what we've actually seen is the emergence of Tanganga that almost replaces the Tamiyasu type right back stroke centre back scenario, which is why we ended up going for an Emerson, who is a marauding fullback, Brazilian, going to be like second striker at the end of the day. And we've also got him one of top defenders in Serie A. So you look at them two signings at the back. You look at the fact that we've got Skipping that is almost like again, it is like a new signing because we didn't have him last year. And I think Ramon Vega on your show last night, Chris, made a really good point, is that actually the central defensive midfield players that are in front of the back four now are making a key role or playing a key role in how well we're defending. Then you've got to add in the fact that we haven't even seen Joe Rodon yet. Like, I know he's been injured and stuff, but he's at the club and he's around. So, when he gets fit, you've got some backup there as well. So I think that we've addressed the areas that we wanted to address. And obviously the club had a plan, which is go for young talent that we can nurture and either sell on in the future or, develop into brilliance. But, the reason why it's not higher than a 7 out of 10 for me is because we didn't get a backup striker, which is the term that I absolutely hate, or another striker, or a attacking midfielder. Now, the only thing I would say on an attacking midfielder, or CAM, a CAM, as you youngsters do on the PlayStations, is that we have got Giovanni Lo Celso and Tungun Dembele. And if, which is a big if, right? And I have to caveat that, but if we can get a tune out of them, or Nuno can get a tune out of them this year, would be huge. Now, I appreciate that they give us 62 minutes or 67 minutes each game that they play. They don't really give us anything, but I think, we've talked about Tunga so many times, but the talent is definitely there. And then when you add Dele in the mix, who, by the way, averages in the seasons that he's been in the Premier League, he averages 9 Premier League goals a season. He scored 51 Premier League goals in 174 appearances. If we can get him back to some sort of Dele, what we've seen and what we know, maybe, I'm not sticking up for him, by the way, but maybe the club are going, well, actually, I've got Dele and an Ndombele and a Giovanni Lo Celso that can actually give us that attacking threat that we need. And actually, if you can't shift or if you can't move on a Dele or an Ndombele or a Giovanni Lo Celso, what chance have you got by bringing in another one? And Jace made the point about having 4 right backs at the club. All of a sudden, we're going to have about 15 midfielders, and none of which are giving us what we need.
Yeah, I mean, just on that point, Jay, so I look at Spurs' midfield and even the attacking options, and of the opinion, I told you guys this in person, and also I saw you guys in the studio, that this current midfield, whilst it's served its purpose over the past 3 games so far in the Premier League, and we've got 9 points, I don't think it's going to be sustainable throughout the course of the season. The Skip, Højbjerg, the Dele, I just don't see it working. I know we had this discussion, Jace, I say in person about Ndombele, and obviously for listeners that haven't heard that, I think it's worth bringing that to the fore, because I think your biggest concern is the lack of minutes that Ndombele and Lo Celso have given us. And when you couple that with the fact that Dele Alli, as Lee said, is playing a new role now, and it's a role that I think actually would, in his game, I think it was actually making contribute to less goals, if anything, because he's playing a lot more deeper. And also when you look at this fact of Lucas's return rate, Bergwijn's return rate in terms of goals scored, does that not massively concern you, the lack of goals in Tottenham's team? When you look at City, they spread the goals across the team. With Tottenham, there's a real reliance, I think, on both Harry Kane and Heung-min Son now to get the goals. I think you said earlier, is it 27 goals you said between Vinicius and Bale last season? How are we going to replace those goals when you look at the current midfield we've got and the lack of goals they've brought to the team over the course of the last couple of seasons?
No, I think it is a concern, and to get that balance right in midfield, we're sitting here with Skip and Højbjerg, and we're praising the fact we've kept clean sheets because we've got Skip and Højbjerg in there. So you take one out, and you might score one at the other end, but then you might well start shipping them. So it's getting that balance. I don't think we've got, if I'm being honest, I don't think we have a squad that suits 4-3-3. I think we have attacking players that suit 4-2-3-1, and we have defensive players that suit 3-5, 3 at the back. And 4-3-3s are kind of the least impressive thing because, I mean, they're right. The dream midfield that constantly had talked about for 2 years of Ndombele and Lo Celso, I don't ever want to see it, because we saw it in Lask and it was an absolute disaster against Lask. So, and the two of them can't last more than an hour. And we're into the third season of both of them. So there's 2 substitutions gone as well. What is the point of that? Having to take 2 substitutions off, whatever the score is. So, those 2 have got to step up. And, we had the big discussion in the week where you said, now it's up to the club to reintegrate
Well, they have to. I mean, he's a £65 million asset, isn't he? Whatever we think.
Well, he's not an asset at the moment, is he?
No, he's not. He's not an asset. He's not. I mean, he's
a liability.
I mean, he's not an asset to you. But what I would say is that the club, if they're actually thinking about sending him for the future window, Jace, they can't not play him. He's going to have games to obviously to show why a club should buy him. Do you not agree? How are you going to sell him otherwise if you don't give him games?
Well, you say to the team that's won 3 out of 3 and 9 points, you say, sorry, we're scrapping that up. We're going to pick Tongay because our win rate drops down to 35% with Tongay from 70% just to play him for the next transfer window. Well, and then we lose the next 4 games, but we say that's all right because he's going to win the Ballon d'Or with Bayern next year.
Well, I'm just asking you, if we're looking, Jace, to sell him, then
Rick, you pick a team. Rick, you pick a team to put points on the board. Not to put them in the window to sell players. It's up to him. We have the argument constantly. We all know the talent that's in him. And it's frustrating that I see people in the week tweeting out clips of Ndombele, or this is the man we've got. And you think it's a 2-minute clip, of which 1 minute comes from his Lyon days. You can't even find 2 minutes of him at Tottenham. It's ridiculous. And it's up to him to perform. And the interesting thing with Sissoko and Aurier, we hear that it was important to get them out of the club to help Tongi. I think it's a little bit strange because Sissoko's a good influence, I think, on most people in the squad, and Aurier is the joker in the pack that gets everyone's spirits up. And when you've had a bad result, believe you me, you do need someone to come in the dressing room. So, I'm sure the rest of the squad actually in the dressing room will miss Serge Aurier for what he brought to the dressing room. But by taking
it's not on the pitch in the 16-yard box.
No, but by taking those security blankets away from Ndombele, he now has to integrate with everyone. He has to come in for lunch and sit with Eric Dyer or sit with Heung-min Son.
That's a good point.
He can't go and hide behind 2 people. So it's up to him to grasp the opportunity, which has been the case since day one. It's not up to Tottenham to integrate him. It's up to him to integrate to the club that he signed for over 2 years ago and finally show that he wants to be a Tottenham player, because none of us argue with the talent that's in him. It's the application. But you cannot, with that team playing like that, and Nuno talks about working, leave players out. When you're at the front of that dressing room and you're demanding a work ethic, you can't then say to somebody who's busting their bollocks off for you, you're not in the team because we're just going to give Ndombele a game who shows no work ethic. You can't do it. He's got to play. He's got to do that, the Europa League checker trade version. And then and once he does a few games in the checker trade well, then you start to think, okay, now we'll come on the bench. And you're on the bench. And when I bring you off the bench with 65 minutes gone, I want to see you give me everything for 25 minutes and turn a game. And then I'll be back on the bench and I want to see you do that twice. And when you start doing that and the players in the team aren't performing, then you'll get a chance in the team and then you better stay there. But you can't bend over backwards for him, Rick, just to put him in a transfer market to sell him. You can't.
Yeah. To be honest, Rick, he hasn't worked hard enough. He hasn't knuckled down. When you think of what Dele Alli has done, this summer, he hasn't knuckled down enough. And even when we were in the pub on Tuesday night all together, I asked you all the questions of saying about Tanguy Ndombele. Tell me what Tanguy Ndombele's best moments in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt are.
I know what we said.
All of us come up with Wickham and Sheffield United. For a record signing, £65 million, we all know the quality he's got. We all keep saying it. Where is he delivering against Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea? The Chelsea games, Chelsea home and away last season under Jose Mourinho, he was awful, absolutely awful. I remember being at Stamford Bridge. Sorry, I think it was the season before. I remember being at Stamford Bridge.
He waved the ball away, didn't he, at one point?
A player was about to pass to him. He was waving the ball away.
Yeah.
It's not even a ball. You can't have that from a £65 million player. He needs to knuckle down. And as Jay said, the only person that can help his career is himself, because either he wants that move away in January or at the end of next season. But how's he going to get a great move away to a big club? You know, if he's not going to start playing, you know, proper football, because it's just so frustrating. Such a frustrating situation with him.
Yeah, I mean, Lee, I just want to bring you in because Ndombele's mindset is that he should be playing for the likes of a Real Madrid, a Barcelona, a Juve. But I mean, we all know that unless you've got the, like Jason and Chris have said there, unless you've got the work ethic, the commitment, the desire, the hunger, you know, along with the ability, there's no point. It's not going to happen. So do you actually see there being a case where he will come back in a Spurs shirt into that first team and tear it up again? Or do you think now he's gone through what I think is, I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful. I'm not going to count Mason really as a manager because it was an interim appointment. But if you look at, he's gone through obviously Pochettino, he's gone through Mourinho, and obviously now Nuno. That's 3 managers. You know, at what point do you draw the line and say, you know what?
Rick,
Even with Mason,
managers.
Okay, I think, Jason, you mentioned Deschamps as well, right? Deschamps.
It's Didier Deschamps as well. You've just had a Euros where he's not picked in there. I mean, you know, Moussa Sissoko still goes and plays for the national team, but Tanguy Ndombele doesn't. So it's another manager.
I know, and I would add Mason in there because at the end of the day, he had 8 games and he didn't pick him for 1. So we obviously didn't fancy him either. And it's just again, what we do know, there's a couple of pieces, you know, a couple in the comments. Moisey83 says nobody knows that is the case with Tungai or Aurier, but actually we do know that there has been a you know, a segregation, if that makes sense, with some of the players in the squad. Especially around Ndombele, and you know, he's just not settled. He's not been happy or settled. He's just had a baby, you know. So congratulations to him, and hopefully that will set him down.
Can I just confirm what Tungi's had the baby or the missus had the baby?
Well,
which was on the maternity break?
No, I think his wife has definitely had the baby, but I think you know, sometimes on these players there's a lot of. I'm not sticking up for the guy, right? I think it is about attitude. It is about behaviour. I'm a huge believer in, you know, that work ethic and hard work, and you've got the. I think you said this on the last pod, Rick, or on one of your escapades on Sky Sports that you've been doing over the last couple of weeks. But you know, the reality of the situation is you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't work hard with it, it's pointless. And that is where Tungai Ndombele is at the moment. The brilliant thing about people and human beings is that if we all feel, or some of us feel as leaders, that you can actually get the best out of another player. Now, just because it's not working in one football club, I don't mean to say that it ain't going to work in another one. Maybe Nuno's thinking and looking at this situation going, I think I can unlock Tungai Ndombele. And if he does, there's no doubt it could be amazing. But Jace is 100% spot on. It's up to Tungai Ndombele. He has to decide whether or not he wants it or not. Now, if I want to go and get a 6-pack, no one's going to make me get a 6-pack other than me, because it's what I eat or how much time I exercise or go into the gym. I have a regime. I have a way of going to get that done. And that's what Tungai Ndombele has to do. When you look at Dele, and you can talk to me about, you know, how much love I've got for Dele because it's huge. But the reality is he's running more than any other player on that pitch. He's ripped to pieces and he wants it. And you can see that the last 18 months, even 2 years, even 3 seasons haven't been brilliant for him. But he's now getting that fire back, and I can see it in him, and I think he can be brilliant. And just to bring up a point that you mentioned earlier about replacing the goals, Bale, I think everybody that follows me, and please follow me at Lee McQueen if you don't already, because I think I'm about 90 or 80 people away from 20,000 followers, which is incredible. So thank you ever so much. But if you don't follow me, please do, because I want to get over that 20,000. Anyway, plug's over. But Bale, everybody that follows me knows. I know, I know. Bale, everyone knows that I love him and I want him back at the football club. It's such a shame that he's not here this season with the full stadium and the fans. I think it would have been amazing. And yes, he did get 11 Premier League goals. But don't talk to him about Vinny in the Premier League. Like, you having a look? He scored 1 goal. He scored 1 goal. One goal with no assists. So I'm not having that, Vinny.
But Lee, the thing with Vinny is he got most of them in the Europa League. We are in the Europa Checkatrade League. So it's we do not want Harry Kane playing games in the Checkatrade Trophy version.
We don't. But the point I'm making, and this is what I was trying to make earlier before I went on off a tangent earlier in the show, is that the transfer window is when you're looking at 4 competitions and fighting on all 4 fronts, and this is not defeatist. So feel free to at me if you want to, but this is not defeatist. This is realistic. This is not being unrealistic about winning stuff and blah blah blah. What do we want to do for the football club to sign the likes of Sabitzers, to sign the likes of players like Harry Kane, to keep them engaged in a football club and to keep going with the Martinezes? We need to be in the Champions League. Yeah. Why are we fighting on 4 fronts? Let's have a look at it. Say, we've got a squad. This is our plan. And we think that our best opportunity for success this season is 1 trophy or a top 4 finish. What is not realistic is to go, we're going to go for all of them. Because that's not realistic, because we won't win 4 trophies. We won't do it. So what's realistic is to have a plan to say, let's go after 1 or 2 of them competitions, and we're played other competitions, not disrespect them. It's very, very professional, not disrespect them. But like you said, Rick, using some of them competitions, for example, as a development. So but you can't have it both ways, in my opinion. You can't say, let's use the Checker Trade UEFA, Europa Conference League as a development, and then when we're in trouble, bring on all your big boys. Because then it's not a development squad, is it? What you're basically saying is the development squad's not good enough, but actually we want to win it. So what do we want to do? Do we want to win it, or do we want to use it as a development squad? Because actually, if we was only in 2 competitions, i.e. the Premier League and the FA Cup, would we have a better chance because of the amount of games that we're playing? Let's have a look. Let's see Arsenal. Arsenal in no European trophies, and they're bottom of the league. So maybe that's throw my bit of theory out the window.
It's a European competition at the end of the day, Lee. We haven't won a European trophy since '84.
It's not an arrogant thing, Chris. It's not me being arrogant. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go for it. What I'm saying is, realistically, have we got the squad to challenge on 4 fronts? And if the answer is no, then we have to drop a competition, surely. And surely the number 1 competition has to be the Premier League. It has to be. It's the domestic league.
Yeah.
Lee, are you telling me the trophies aren't coming?
No, I think we might win a domestic cup.
Can I ask why?
I just think realistically, people say that, oh, you're too optimistically or you're being unrealistic. Unrealistic would be me saying that we're going to win the Premier League and a trophy and the FA Cup. That's unrealistic because of the squad we've got. But actually playing 38 games with the squad that we've got, is that unrealistic? We were 5 points off for the top 4 last season. Constantly over 10 years, 72 points gets you in the top 4. My question is, if we concentrated on the Premier League, would we have a chance with the squad that we've got to get in the top 4? Not only have a trophy, the top 4. And if you go back to Poch's days, and it annoyed a lot of people, I know it annoyed you, Chris, as well, in terms of trophies, he never prioritised the smaller cups. He always went for the bigger prize.
It was about the league and the Champions League. Yeah.
But guess what, though? We got in the Champions League every season. Oh, you couldn't make it up.
Can I just say that first Europa Conference League game, we had 11 players in that team that should have won that game. And not one of those 11 players stepped up. And that was what was disappointing for me, because you feel that some of those players, fringe players, the Harry Winkses, for example, Giovanni Lo Celso played in that game. They get very rare starts in the Premier League for Spurs, at the moment. And they should be taking those opportunities in games like that. And when you talk about playing strong, lineups in that competition, we had more than enough quality in that game. So it's about stepping up and taking your opportunity in these games. And that's what's really important for me, because I feel in the Europa Conference League, we should go very, very far. No matter what starting 11 Nuno Espirito Santo puts out, we should field, a strong team. It will be a strong team. Regardless of whether those 11 are going to be playing Premier League football at the weekend, it should be a strong team. We should go far. So it's all about the players' attitude and wanting it. And like I said earlier, about the hunger.
Yeah. I want to ask you guys about Harry Kane. Now the dust has firmly settled on the Harry Kane situation. We've seen Harry actually put out a statement. This is the back end of yesterday, where again he kind of, I don't know if you would say he reiterates his commitment to the football club. But what he says is that I'm fully focused with club and country, looking forward to a great year. I look forward now. The aim has always been to win silverware with Tottenham, and that has been that aim every year. Let's come round to you, Jace. Is this now case closed? Harry's fully focused on Tottenham, and this won't rear its head again to at least next summer or beyond that? Or what do you see happening now with Harry Kane? And has it changed your view of him over the course of the last 3 to 4 months since the Gary Neville interview?
I've defended Kane from a lot in the summer because of the information we'd seen. I don't believe what the case that the media's presented of him just simply being late for training. The fact that he came out with his original statement, the fact that he said yesterday, "I know the truth," would suggest that it isn't quite being portrayed by the media in the right way. But I've never, ever, ever defended him from the Gary Neville interview, which I found a despicable thing to do. I went mad when Danny Rose did it all those years ago. I cannot defend Harry Kane from that. It's an interview he was poorly advised to give. He should never have done it. And so there's no defence of that. But I will defend him from the accusations that some people have said of that he just turned up for training late and doesn't give a damn, because I simply don't believe that. Has it changed my opinion of him? Not really. When he scored in those Europa League in the checker trade the other day, I just thought, I just saw it as a goal. I didn't think, good on Harry, he's back on board. I just thought that's Harry Kane doing what Harry Kane does. I've just seen the thing come up tonight. Harry Kane scores again. I just expect him to score goals. It's as simple as that. And I think he'll give everything he can. I don't think he'll think, I don't want to be here, I'm not going to go and make this, I can't be bothered to make that run. Why am I? I don't think that's the case. But we will face speculation down the line. But, a year is a long, long time. What if we got in the top 4? Does he want to go? Will Manchester City want him next summer?
Well, that's the key.
Maybe they'll get Haaland. And, Harry Kane, if Harry Kane has a normal season, he'll be within about 10 goals of breaking that record. Yeah. And then you think, and if there isn't the option for him to go next summer and he's 10 goals away from breaking the records, maybe then with a year of being on board and seeing how Nuno works, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that he'd think, do you know what, perhaps I am better where I am. People will talk about it. Let's not forget Lionel Messi handed in a transfer request the summer before, but he's still adored in Barcelona, isn't he?
Good point. Yes, good point.
We've seen that with Luis Suarez. Wanted to go to Arsenal when they bid £40 million and £1. He stayed at Liverpool, had a brilliant season at Liverpool. Luka Modric done it at Tottenham.
Steven Gerrard.
Luka did go. Steven Gerrard Steven Gerrard wanted to go twice, didn't he?
Yeah, Gerrard, Rooney.
Yeah. So, it's up to us. It's up to us to do enough to Harry to put him in a position where next summer that he wants to stay at Tottenham. And like I said, if Manchester City can go for Haaland next year, perhaps they won't want Harry. It's don't worry about what's going to happen next summer. I'm sure the media will do it, but we shouldn't be. Let's just enjoy the fact that we've got what we think is the world's best number 9 in our team for another season. And there's no doubt about it. If we'd have lost him, how the hell can Tottenham Hotspur go and buy the world? Not just as a striker. Tottenham Hotspur cannot go and buy the world's best player in any position. And we've got him in our team. So enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Rick, can I just bring up a point?
I was going to bring in Chris. Go on. Yeah.
Fabrizio Romano reported that we went in for Martinez for 70 million euros, and with add-ons 90 million euros.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion on that? Because if we're putting in that bid for Martinez, was it to partner Harry Kane? Was it because we thought that Harry Kane was being sold? What was it for?
Well, I thought what we understood was that Nuno wanted to play 2 up front. That's what I always understood. I think from what we understand, when he was asked in the summer about what his philosophy was with Tottenham, and he was asked by Daniel and the board to kind of give an outline as how Tottenham were going to play, it was with 2 up front. Do I think he's happy with the end of the transfer window? I don't think personally. I think,
but if that was the case and he wanted to play someone alongside Harry Kane, why have we not signed someone else?
Is there an argument that he might push Heung-min Son further up? I think you might see that.
And Chris, if we did bid the 70 million plus add-ons, where is that money? What have we done with that
money? That's another point. Where is that money? Yeah, where is that
money?
Why
haven't we spent it then? Why haven't we strengthened? You're right. Why haven't we used that money for some other position?
Like I say, another centre back, like you said. What do you think, Chris, now on Kane? Because, I mean, you followed him. Like I say, I have to emphasise this point that you go home and away, under 18s, under 23s, under 4s, under sevens, under nines.
It's not that bad.
But I want to say, obviously, you follow the club
This has
all
been
around
more
the
games this season than I think all of us for over the last 3. And we've only had 3 games in the Prem.
But it's a point that you follow the club all around the world. I just want to ask you on your thoughts with Kane. As a fan as you are, has your passion or has your thoughts of him changed at all? Or are you 100% the same fan you was towards Kane before, like I say, that Gary Neville interview?
Do you know what, Rick? Whatever people feel about Harry Kane, when I saw the reception that he got at Molineux a couple of weeks ago, I think Harry Kane was even surprised himself about the fantastic reception he got from the fans. And all of us want to get behind Harry Kane. Of course, I expect him now to be the Golden Boot winner again at the end of this season. He's missed a couple of Premier League games. He's going to want to come back. And as Jay said, he's going to want that Spurs record as well.
Yeah.
It just disappointed me during the summer because I was saying on every single YouTube video that I was putting out, I just want to hear from Harry Kane. I just want to hear him come out and say, really looking forward to the season. I'm a Tottenham Hotspur player. It would have been very, very simple to do that.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And I feel as well for him. And like I've said on this show many, many times, you know, when you've got Pochettino left, you know, without winning a trophy, Christian Eriksen, Jan Vertonghen, you know, the list is absolutely endless of great players that we've had in recent history, and they've all left without winning a trophy. I feel for Harry Kane not winning a trophy. You know, we could sit here all night talking about Harry Kane. You know, yes, he's played in cup finals. Some people would say that he's not turned up in those cup finals. You know, he could have won the trophies. All of us fans want trophies. You know, the game's about glory. I want to be seeing trophies lifted at Spurs. 13 very long years. So I do feel for Harry Kane, and I do get his frustration. We're all frustrated as well. I don't know where the Harry Kane situation will end up. You know, I changed my mind a couple of times during the summer, thinking he's going to leave, then he's going to stay. You know, now he's here. I think that we all need to just get behind him and focus on this season. And, you know, hopefully he will be the Golden Boot winner. Hopefully we will get back into the top 4. And hopefully he will, you know, lift a trophy at Spurs eventually, because I just think that it would be an absolute nightmare and very, very sad, a very sad situation if he finished his career at Spurs without winning a trophy. Very similar to Heung-min Son. You know, when you saw the Amazon documentary and you saw the sensational documentary on Heung-min Son with his father, you know, for Heung-min Son to sign another 4-year deal at Spurs.
That's massive, isn't it? Yeah, when you think about that. I mean, we've got to be able to say that, you know, I think a lot of the South Korean fans are really disappointed that Son has committed his future to Tottenham, because, like you ruled off the list there, the likes of Eriksen, Dembele, you look at again Vertonghen, Alderweireld, you know, you go through the players Spurs have had, Kyle Walker, to not have won a trophy at Tottenham. It's just baffling, isn't it? Some of the players that we've had. Hugo as well. Well, listen, we're hoping obviously this season will be different. But Lee, I want to ask you just quickly, Lee, on Kane, because I mean, I want to make this point obviously that you called this very, very early on. We had a situation where everything you were telling us in the group would then come to light 2 or 3 days later in the media. It was quite incredible watching this all play out the way it was, and it was a remarkable source that you had. I just wonder, Lee, for you, do you think it's a case where the only way this situation does feel resolved and case closed is for Kane, as Jason has said on our show before, to sign a new contract that may end up having a form of a release clause in there, but it'll be a longer term contract for Kane? How do you see this situation being case closed, all over, no more talk about Harry Kane?
Yeah, I think probably that. I mean, he will sign a new contract. Like, it will happen. Something will come out in the media in the next few weeks that will be that Harry Kane's signed the new contract. Whether or not that contract is a longer term contract, or it's just a bumper pay rise, or it's got a release clause in it, who knows? You know, we'll leave it up to the brilliant journalists that go and find out that information. But that will happen. I'm absolutely convinced of it. So it will be the case. I just want to touch on a point, Chris, that you made, buddy, as well, about kind of trophies and not winning trophies and stuff. And obviously, I echo all them points. But Kane has been, as most players have, like most Spurs fans have been almost brainwashed in the fact that actually, if you start Tottenham, you don't win trophies. Jan Vertonghen left, he's won a trophy. Pochettino's left, he's won a trophy already. Eriksen's left, he won a trophy. Kyle Walker left, he's won about 5,000. Kieran Trippier. Yeah, Kieran Trippier, he's won a trophy. Bale left, he won 4 Champions Leagues. Modric, he's become Ballon d'Or. even
Even in
Berbatov.
Kudu.
You know, you can go and go and go and go, and I think that's the problem, isn't it? Is that there's a fundamental mentality block or fundamental belief that actually if you're with Tottenham, or if you stay with Tottenham, you're not going to win a trophy. And I think that's why Chris and obviously all of us were so keen to get that kind of the cobwebs out of the trophy cabinet and get a trophy in the cabinet and so on and so forth. But when you analyse what that does to the club longer term, yes, it means that we've got the kind of monkey off our back essentially. But do we start to kick on from there? You only start to kick on if you've got the right team with the right attitude and the right work ethic and the right plan, and actually winning the Carabao Cup or the Europa Conference League is not going to attract a Haaland to the football club. But actually, if we're in the Champions League, it might. And that's the balance, isn't it, of what we've got to try and achieve. I think, to come back to your original question on Kane, I've got no doubts in my mind that he will sign. There will be something that comes out in the media in the next few weeks that suggests that he will sign a new contract. The details of that, who knows? We have to wait and see. But what I would say is, when he goes and scores the winner against Arsenal, right, at the Emirates in a couple of weeks' time, or when he goes and scores the winner against Chelsea, at home on the 17th of September, we won't be talking about Harry Kane wondering, this, that, and the other. Because I tell you now, one of the best moments in supporting Tottenham Hotspur is when he had the mask on and he pinged that ball in against Arsenal. And if that net weren't there, it would have hit me in the face because I was in row 3, and it was absolutely pandemonium. And they are the memories that we want to hear back. Harry Kane scoring goals, jawline under it.
Yeah, I'm going to do a sum-up overview in terms of Spurs' window, and then we'll discuss, I'll say, future predictions to close the show. Chris, Galini, I want to start with you and Galini. Do you see him ousting Hugo Lloris as Spurs' number 1 this season, or do you think he will be there to learn off Lloris and we'll get the cup games, we'll get the Europa Conference League games? I need to check a trade there. I stopped myself. What do you think, Chris? Galini, what's the future hold for him?
Yeah, I believe that he has been brought in to be a cup goalkeeper. But the interesting thing is that he's got to play 20 Premier League games in order for us to buy him. So it's an interesting situation what's going to happen there. And of course, Hugo Lloris is in his his final year of contract. So it'd be an interesting situation. But he looks a very decent, capable goalkeeper. I was at Stamford Bridge a couple of weeks ago for the 2-2 draw in the Mine series, and he was a very, very busy boy that night, and we got a great insight to what he's all about.
He played well, didn't he? That night, didn't he, Chris? He played well, didn't he, that night?
He did. He did. He made a number of great saves. So, but a very capable goalkeeper. Has, of course, played for Atalanta in Serie A. So, he's a very decent goalkeeper. Whether it will be the next Hugo Lloris is another thing. But yeah, it'd be an interesting situation.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Galini, it'll be interesting to see whether they do try and get Hugo to extend by 1 year or not. But as the club stands at the moment with Hugo, we don't know if he's in contract negotiations or anything. But assuming that he isn't, we need to find out before Hugo goes whether Galini is good enough.
That's the key, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's no good then for me giving Galini cup games against Wickham and playing in Checkatrade trophy games. You need to see, can Galini handle it at Anfield?
Yeah.
Can Galini handle it in an Old London derby?
Yeah.
Can he handle it at Old Trafford? Because if you're making him your number 1 goalkeeper next year, you want to find out before then that he's good enough.
Yep.
So it's going to be very surprising, Jace, isn't it? Saturday week, the team comes out and you've got Galini in goal. You'd be very surprised, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, at the moment, you would be. Yeah. And, there's also the thing of, Kane's vice captain, Hugo's captain. So if you lose those 2 players in the same summer, that's a big loss to the dressing room as well. I know we all think Højbjerg's the one in waiting, but it's still a big influence to go from that dressing room. So, I'd feel comfortable if they extended Hugo by a year and we just had a little bit of time where we could look at Galini in a few Premier League games. But at the moment, if Galini's our goalkeeper for next year, we need to see him in the Premier League games and big ones to make sure he's good enough.
Let's come around. Let's discuss Brian Hill. Let's come around to you, Lee. What have you made of him, Brian Hill? Obviously, we've only seen a couple of appearances. Chris, obviously, you've seen him up close against Paulo de Ferreira. But obviously, the return game to that looked very impressive. I know as Spurs fans, we have an awful tendency to get carried away. Already been given the likes of a Ginola tag, Luka Modric of a tag. I mean, quite heavy names to live up to.
Yeah.
Is it a case with Brian Hill you just want to see him kind of blended in slowly, or would you like to see more of him on? Would you expect to feature in the first team?
Well, I mean, I had pictures of David Ginola on my wall, you know, in the 90s, mate. So if he's anything like that, then happy days. I better get some frames going on. I haven't really seen much of him.
Why have you got Martin Keown on the wall behind you?
No, I haven't, mate. I haven't. I promise. No, I think with Brian Hill, I haven't seen much of him at all. I didn't catch the second leg of the Europa Conference League Checker Trade Euro version, whatever Jason's calling it, because I was out and away, so I didn't actually see the game. So I haven't seen any of the highlights of the game at all. But by all accounts, he did play much better. I think that's where we again that word balance comes in, because I think that we need to kind of have a balance between what the club are trying to do with their plan with the young players coming through, and then actually expecting him to come in and score 15 goals. We do need the goals from somewhere, as you guys highlighted earlier, and we do need that creativity. But I just think that for him, I would like to see him just come in and express himself a little bit like Dele Alli did when he first came in that first season. It was a little bit like, okay, is he going to do anything or not? And actually, we saw that first season with Dele that I think he scored against Leicester, didn't he, in a 1-1 draw in the odd 80th minute or whatever it was for, you know, in his, I think it might have been his debut, to be fair. But you could see that he had that mentality, that big game mentality, even at that age. And, you know, the stuff, Jason, you were just talking about with Galina is, has he got it? Well, Dele had it. We need to see that if Brian Hill has got that as well, because, you know, letting him come in and fixing him one position, I think even Nuno said this, is actually probably got it wrong. He probably needs to float about a bit and you know, just try and enjoy the game and see if he can influence. But when I think the most difficult thing is when you're coming into a team and you're then out of it, then you're into it, and you know, you're doing hokey cokey. It's so difficult to get momentum, isn't it, with your teammates? So actually, he's played with Sergio Reguilon, by all accounts, at their previous clubs. So actually, to get a partnership down that left-hand side, if you like, would be good for him. But actually, is he gonna? If we don't play Son as a second striker, and if we are playing Son as a second striker alongside Kane, it gives you a kind of a left winger, if you like, availability. And that might be Bergwijn, it might be Lucas, or it could be Hill, right? So I don't know how much game time he's going to get, but I think for sure a lot of people around Europe, by all accounts, everything that I've read, and all the journalists and all the, you know, the sports science people are saying he's brilliant. So he's obviously a good buy. And, you know, let's not forget, we let Lamela go and we paid, 25 million euros for him as well. So that's not a small amount of money for somebody who, he must be highly rated. Hello? Chris, what do you think?
You know what, Lee? I think Brian Hill is going to be a real star for us this season. I do. I think he's going to be a real star for us this season. I think his link-up play in that Pacos de Ferreira game in the Europa Conference League, and don't diss that competition as well, Jace, because have you seen that trophy? A wonderful-looking trophy, that.
That look good.
I'm not.
It's like Gazaniga.
Do you know what, Lee? When I saw him play in that second game, he played like Dele Alli when he first joined Spurs, where it was just like he was just playing in the park, and I love to see that. You know, that raw talent, and I think he's going to have a good season for us, and I think he's going to be one of those players where fans are going to get off their seat and feel very excited again. And you know, you know, people are talking about David Ginola, etc. I think it's a little bit early to talk about players like that in the same sentence as Brian Hill, but I think he's going to be one of those exciting players to get the Spurs fans excited again, and that's what we want to see, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I think originally in the early days of Premier League, it'll be an impact type sub. When you're coasting, when we play the North London derby and we're 4-0 up with an hour to go, and Ndombele or Lo Celso come off, then you can chuck Brian Hill on and say, right, go and express yourself. without fears. I think that's how he's introduced to the team. And then, as the season goes on, if we see more of him, great. But
do you think
the early signs are good?
Do you think, Jason and Chris, do you think that he could be one of these players that has a moment? Just throwing on and giving the ball and go and have a go, 8-10 minutes to go, and all of a sudden he produces a moment of magic, and then that's he's announced himself. Do you remember when Wayne? I'm not comparing him to Wayne Rooney, of course. In my eyes, Wayne Rooney, on the field, don't worry about what he's doing off the field, but on the field, an absolute legend. Remember that game he came? I think he was 16 and 200 days or whatever it was. It was against Arsenal, and he came on. He just pinged that ball in the top right-hand corner, and you just knew that he was going to be unbelievable. Maybe Brian, I don't want to put pressure on the lad, but that's what I mean. Give him a bit of a free roll, a bit of a free spirit, chuck him the ball, so you can go and see what you can do with that, and see if he has a moment in him.
You talk about moments,
I think the importance of that, Lee, and that's what I used to say about Lamela. It's not just that moment; it's the game that moment comes in, isn't it? And I said, it's Eric Lamela played all those London days, and I think he eventually scored an header at West Ham when we won 1-0, didn't he? I think was his big moment, because his big moment before that is a Rabona in a Europa League game against Asteros Tripolis, when in a game we score 5 in, and Harry Kane's notable in goal for that. So games like that isn't the defining moment, is it? And I always used to say, Lamela needs that defining moment where Lucas Moura's got it from the Ajax game, hasn't he?
And the Old Trafford. And the Old Trafford.
And I know Lamela scored a goal against Man United, the famous Lamela goal, but it was the third in a 3-0 win.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until he scored that header, I think, at the council tip when we won 1-0, was his first, what I call, really meaningful big goal. And then even last year, he scores a Rabona at the Emirates, but we lose the game and he gets sent off, which just sums Eric Lamela up. But it's seizing that moment, like you said, that Kane goal against Arsenal with the mask on. It's not just the goal that he scored; it was the opponent that he scored it against, which makes it big. And you need that moment from a player. So hopefully he can turn a game against the West Ham. He can turn a game against the Liverpool, where it's just that moment comes, and that gives you so much more credit in the bank than if that moment comes as the 4th goal against Burnley.
Yeah, guys, just want to finish up on Spurs' summer transfer signings. We've got to just squeeze in some listener questions to close the show. Chris, I want to ask you about 2 defenders Spurs have signed, of course, Christian Romero, and our deadline day signing Emerson Royale Emerson. Tell me what you think. Early days for both of those players. They're going to come from a new league. It's going to be a case of adaptation for both of them. Have you got high hopes for both Romero and Emerson to hit the ground running?
Yeah, Christian Romero, I'm super excited about the signing of him, because, of course, we've spoken at length so many times about defensive reinforcements, particularly under Jose Mourinho. The way that our back 4 changed week in, week out. He didn't know the best back 4. None of us fans knew it either. The amount of defensive mistakes leading to such silly errors and goals. We needed defensive reinforcements this summer. Whether we've done enough, that's the question. But a new right back, a new centre back, super excited about seeing them play. But Christian Romero, of course, the defender of the year in Serie A last season, I think he is a real statement signing. Just a little bit disappointed, really, that the fact that he's gone off on international duty with Gio Lo Celso, which of course now looks like he's going to miss the Palace and Chelsea games, where we really need these players. So
Chris, this is a big problem for us, isn't it, during the season with the international breaks, because we could be losing these players for 2 or 3 games at a time after the break. It's a big problem, isn't it? Massive
Very
problem.
disappointing. It's funny because we spoke about defensive reinforcements all this time, and then we're sitting here talking about new defenders when, of course, Davinson Sanchez and Eric Dyer have been doing the business in these opening 3 games. But we all know that that's going to swap around, and we all know that that's going to change. But yeah, very excited about our 2 new defenders. We've certainly needed new defenders. So hopefully, they will shore up our defence, and hopefully we will keep a lot more clean sheets than we did last season.
Yeah, okay. We are going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners that are on audio. Taking into this break, we're going to hear from Fabio Paratici, who gives us his thoughts on Spurs' summer transfer window, how Nuno was settled in, and the plans for the future. For our viewing audience on YouTube, and thank you so much for joining us on what's obviously an international night. So really appreciate you taking the time out to be watching us and choosing us over international football. God, what else would you be watching at this time? Thank you so much. And we're going to crack on, like I say, for this final 10, 15 or 10 minutes or so, just to wrap up Spurs' window and take some of the listener questions that we've had in. One of them is in, and it's about one of our signings, and we're going to come over to you, Lee, for this one. This is from Sperano at Sperano1, who says, what is the thinking behind the purchase of Papa Mata Sarr? It is relatively big money for a position already covered by both Højbjerg and Skip. Does it show that we're not completely sure about Oliver Skip just yet?
Not at all, actually. I think that it's really good business from the football club on the basis that he is very, very highly rated in Ligue 1. He's been pulling up trees. He's only 18 years old. He's gone back, obviously, on loan to Metz. And, again, listening to Parasiji talk earlier, he was asked a similar question. And he talked about the fact that this kid is going to be outstanding, absolutely brilliant. So sometimes Chelsea do this brilliantly, by the way, but sometimes buying young players and then getting a fee for them later on, or a bigger fee for them later on, a sell-on value is obviously good business. If you're to balance the books or bring revenue in, or to integrate them into the first team. So it might be that he never plays for Tottenham. It might be that. It might be that he goes out on a few loans and then somebody buys him for 40 million or whatever it might be. A bit like that Bakayoko that went to Chelsea, that he had, I think he played 26 games and paid 40 million for him, and he's never really kicked a ball in earnest for them. But he's putting him out on loan or selling him to AC Milan and that sort of stuff. So, but by all accounts, this kid, if I can call him that, because he's only 18, is outstanding. So I think we should be pleased and happy that we bought somebody with all of that potential, like Chris said earlier, like raw talent, right? Because that's essentially what they are. These guys coming through with raw talent. So yeah, I'm pleased that we're looking at that end of the market as well. I think Jace, you said this a couple of times on previous shows. If you can't be going in for the Lewandowskis and the and the Martinezes and the Paul Pogbas, then actually you've got to do it. You've got to have a different strategy. I think Pochettino always alluded to this fact that Tottenham are different to a lot of different clubs. We're not backed by, yes, we're backed by a multi-billionaire, but we're not backed by, an entire country, or we haven't spent £1 billion on transfers. And, no matter which owner that we've had in the football club, we've never been that way. Like, it's never been our way. People talk about the Spurs DNA. It's always been about trying to bring people through the academy and getting exciting players.
It was organic, wasn't it? Always organic.
Yeah, always organic. And I know... this chap isn't obviously come through the academy, but from an 18-year-old, we're going to develop him from 18 to 22, 23, and hopefully he's going to be a player for us.
Yeah, I think they've likened it like the Dele Alli deal, one that was just too good to turn down. Got a bit at the front of the queue for him, and that's exactly what Tottenham have done. Chris, question here I want to ask you. This is from one of our listeners. Thank you so much. This is from Finley Bennett, who says, will signing players with a lack of Premier League experience hinder or benefit us?
Like I said earlier about Brian Hill, I'm super excited about seeing him play. He looks like a real wonder kid, a real star for the future. Personally, I would, I've said on this channel 100 times or so, I love players with Premier League experience. In an ideal world, you'd bring in players with Premier League experience, but of course they're very expensive. A lot of clubs won't want to do business with Tottenham for whatever reason. So you have to bring in these young stars. And one thing that I've been super impressed with the club, and Fabio in particular, with him coming in, is the fact that all of these targets and all of these signings are young players for the future. So not only are we trying to go through this rebuild this summer, but we are building for the future, and it's all about the future. And that's one thing I loved about the management under Pochettino. We were always looking to the future.
There was always a plan. Always a plan.
Jose Mourinho, it was always the quick fix, and it was about now. But we've gone back to that, and we've gone back to looking for the future. And Pape Mata Sarr is another one, because of course, these wonder kids out there at the moment. Bratji is looking at all of these wonder kids, and he wants to sign them all. And I love the fact that we're trying to do that, because we're trying to build a good team for the future. I know all of us want success now, but it is about the future as well. And I really like what Tottenham are doing.
Yeah, Jace, before we ask the question on the screen there, we've got a question in from Luke Connorland, who says Lucas Moura plays best when he's allowed to play in a central position like the number 10. Do you think that's where we'll see him throughout the season to get the best out of him consistently? He needs to play central, not stuck out on the wing, being very quiet in matches. Do we know Moura's best position? If so, can you share it with us, Jace?
That's a bit of a worry that there's so many players in the squad. We still don't know their best positions, do we? And what's Ndombele? What's Lo Celso?
We're
What's
chat
Lucas
last week.
Moura?
Yeah, this chat Tuesday.
You know,
Sessegnon.
What's Sessegnon? Yeah. Even Reguilon, to me, he's not a left back.
I think there'll be quite a few that can tell you that Winks is best position league. Probably not broadcast him on this podcast.
Yeah, but again, if he'd been settled in a position, maybe that wouldn't be the case. Do you see what I mean? He's, I'm just saying, he's obviously there's talented footballers that we don't know their best positions. Like you're saying, Jace, that is a worry, isn't it?
I think with Lucas in those couple of pre-season games, we saw him play those eye of a needle passes. He set up a couple of goals with some fantastic passes. But as we've gone up against better opposition than MK Dons and Colchester, and we've suddenly hit Wolves and even Watford. Okay, so they're newly up, but Lucas Moura hasn't looked as good in those games. So it's still trying to get Lucas consistent, isn't it? That's the thing. And in a 4-3-3, do you really have that room for a number 10? For what I think of as a traditional passing number 10. It's not so easy. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne, you can't class anyone to Kevin De Bruyne because he's unique. But I don't even think he plays like Christian Eriksen used to Tottenham, does he? Not in that sense of a number 10. So I don't know if Lucas Moura can do it. But we need more. We need more. We need Ajax can't be his final memory for Tottenham. We need to see that more consistently, not necessarily a hat-trick, but we do need him to provide more goals and we do need him to provide more assists, that's for sure.
Yeah, okay. We're going to close the show on that question we saw from Adam Martin, and also very similar on the lines of this one from Nazar I Am Black Duck, who says, with the current squad we have now, do we have what it takes to flirt around top 4 or still target a top 6 finish? And if we would want to aim for top 4, who do you think we should be buying in January? So I'm sure Jason loves the end parts of that question. So we'll probably finish with Jason on that part and we'll come around to Chris to start that. Chris, what's the aim for you now as a fan? You go home and away every week, as I say. Like I say, you talk about Spurs so much on your channel. Like I say, there's the Spurs chat which you've got to listen to every Sunday. The debate on there is just quite incredible. Not always the muffling mics, but there's some great content on there. Chris, tell me, what is the aim for you now, going as a fan? Is it top 6? Is it top 4? Is it to see Tottenham play good football? What is it for you?
Well, the ultimate aim, Rick, has to be top 4. And dare I mention that word, trophy. It'd be great to put a trophy in the cabinet. But the club's plan and the club's aim must be top 4 to get back into that Champions League spot, because of course I think as a club we kind of took it for granted, thinking we're just going to be Champions League team year in year out, and then slipping out of it into the in the Europa League, and now in the Europa Conference League, it's like a million miles away from where we need to be and where we want to be. So getting back into that Champions League spot is absolute key for me. Can we do it? I think if every single player plays out their skin and we avoid injuries, Harry Kane plays a full season, banging goals in every game, I think we'll be okay. But do I think we've got enough? Probably not. I think that we will flirt around it. I think that we will probably finish 5th or 6th at the end of the season. But as I said at the start of the show, I think that we all expected us to do vast amounts in this window. A lot has been done, but just not enough for us to go in that top 4, because I just think that some of those clubs, Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, they're just miles away from the quality of the depth that we have. So I think that we'll probably be a Europa League team next season.
Can I ask you just a follow-up question, because I have to ask you about a trophy question. If I was to offer you now 5th or 6th plus the Europa Conference League, or as Jason says, the Checker Trade Europa Trophy, would you take that? Bearing in mind you want trophies.
I think trophies are extremely important to a football club. And when you think back to the lack of trophies that we have had at our club, it is simply not good enough. With all of the players, like we've said on this show, all the players that have come and gone and left, we need trophies, and the fans need trophies as well. So I would take a trophy any day. However, with that said, I believe that Champions League football is very, very important.
Okay. Was that a yes or a no to that? That was very well swerved.
Do you know what, Rick? I hope that we can achieve both, because
why can't we do both? Yeah, I totally agree. That's a good
and when Lee said about the trophies earlier, there's no reason with the squad that we have. Even last season under Jose Mourinho, with that squad, we should have gone on to win the Europa League. There's dreadful performances by some of those players, and that's why we're going through this rebuild of getting rid of half the players and keeping half the players. So it's a big job. It's a massive job for the club, and only so much can be done in this summer transfer window, as we've seen. It's all down now to the players giving 110%, putting a shift in, winning matches, and it's been a good start. So I'm remaining positive right now.
Yeah, no, I say it's we've got to 9 points out of a possible 9 so far. Jason, let's come around to you. I won't ask you about January just yet, because I feel that might finish you off. But in terms of Spurs and where they're at now with the players that they've signed, what is the ambition for you between now and the rest of the season? What do you want to see Tottenham achieve? What do you think they can achieve?
If I'm honest, I don't think we'll break into the top 4. I think the most vulnerable ones are probably Liverpool, but I wouldn't exactly say they're vulnerable. They're still you look at them and they still look a really powerful side. But you have is it African Cup of Nations this year, where they possibly lose Mane and Salah, and if they pick up, they're the side, I think, with the squad that you can see being disrupted if 1 or 2 players get injured and we get lucky. So, and if you get to the end of the year where they're in and around Champions League games, and you have that, like I always talk about the magic week, where you have a Champions League quarter-final followed by Man United away. All the clubs in the course of the season have that, and you might just, it's very difficult to win both of those games. So I think we'll flirt around the edges of the top 4, but do I expect us to get in? We'll have a better idea. I know we've beaten Manchester City already, but we tend to beat Manchester City. And I know Lee says we were only 5 points off it, but I think Liverpool went 8 games without winning last year at home. I don't see Liverpool doing 8 games without a home win this year, and those types. And really, we even though we were close to it last year, we lost home and away. We lost at home to Chelsea and drew away. We lost away at Man City. We got doubled by a poor Liverpool side last year, let's be honest. So the big test for me will be, can we get something from 1 or 2 of those games? Can we beat Liverpool at home this year? Can we can we beat Man United at home this year? We're going to need to do that if we're going to get into that top 4. We've got to take more points from those clubs than we have traditionally done in the past.
Yeah. Before we close the show with Lee, Chris, you got a response to that question on the screen there? I thought he couldn't bear it too much. He's left
in protest.
I cannot wait until the day that the trophies do actually come, because, as I say, all of the fans need them, and I'm sure that a lot of the people that watch my channel are absolutely sick to death of hearing me saying that T word, as people keep saying it now.
Even your intro's called "Here Come the Trophies."
It's just it's mad. It's mad though, is it? 13 years without a trophy. It's madness. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is mad. Lee, let's close it with you. Same question I'm going to ask you.
Isn't this the Europa Trick or Trade trophy or something like that? There you go. Look, won the Checker Trade.
Bring that closer a second. Bring that closer.
It's a bit like the Europa Checker Trade trophy, isn't it? That?
Good design.
We'll take it.
A bit like that.
Oh, you can imagine, couldn't you? That's what we're going to be signing at the end of the season, holding it up in the air.
Do you know what, though? Do you know what? All joking aside, even Jason said under Jose Mourinho last season that the trophies were coming. Do you remember that, Jace?
Well, you paid me, didn't you, though? You didn't pay me to say it.
Lee, let's close it with you. Yeah, same question to you, really. With the business that Spurs have done, with the start we've made, as a supporter for you now, obviously you're going to be here throughout the season, as you all are on this channel. What do you generally believe that Spurs can achieve between now and the rest of the season? What is achievable? Is it top 4? Is it top 6? Is it a trophy run? What do you see happening?
Yeah, I think realistically top 6. I actually personally think we'll finish 5th. But that doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't be aiming to try and flirt and get into that top four. When you look at the teams that are in and around there, it's very difficult, isn't it? They're loving the roof cassettes. Cheers, Raj. You know, when you look at the teams in and around it, it's very difficult to argue that case. But I think the thing that I've been most impressed with around the transfer window and so on and so forth is that we have got a plan. It feels like that we've got something coming together, and that's really, really important. More important to me than signing somebody for 65 million who thinks going to be brilliant and then obviously doesn't turn up or only plays 67 minutes per game, which is exactly what's happened with Tunga and Dembele. So, you know, it's really important there's a togetherness there. That's really important that we've got a plan of where we're going. And actually, when we reset our expectations, and a little bit like, you know, if you follow England, for example, so obviously there's a lot of international viewers and stuff like that and listeners at the moment as well. But if you follow England, there was no expectations on England in the World Cup 2018, but yet we got to a semi-final. And actually, when the expectations are a little bit, you know, lower, maybe it takes some of the pressure off and we can just relax and go and play. I think it's different this season with the fans back in. I think it'll be the same for every club. But you know, no one can deny that we can start to build on that brilliant start that we've had so far.
Yep.
We were the joint third highest goal scorers in the Premier League last season, and I know that Bale's left with 11 of them goals. But if we can get Dele firing, if we can get a tune out of Dembele, if we can get more minutes out of Lo Celso, if we can get them other attacking players, I think you've seen the comments in there as well, Lucas and obviously Bergwijn as well, they need to start chipping in with some of them goals. We're not that far away. We're not that far.
I think you said, was it 5 points? Was far away last season? 5 points was the difference.
It was 5 points, but when you look at our last 5 games, we lost to Leeds and Aston Villa. And that Aston Villa game was purely down to the GNEV, in my opinion. All of that interview with Kane and all that sort of stuff. There was easily another win in there. You know, you look at the West Ham game being 3-0 up. I know it's all ifs and buts and maybes, but what you've got to do is take the emotion out and analyse it. Yeah. Where could we have improved? We could have improved and not let a lead slip away against the likes of Newcastle in the last minute, against the likes of West Ham and so on and so forth. Well, there's your 4 points. Like, there's 4 points just there. You know, don't lose to Aston Villa and get switched on and that whole Kane thing. You're in the top 4. I know it's different this year. I know that. And, you know, you've got powerhouses like Chelsea with the money and Man City with the money, Man United with the money, and they've got Ronaldo, and you know, City have got Jack Grealish for 100 million. And we're trying to compete on that. But sometimes when we're thinking about, you know, we've got to do this and we've got to do that, the reality is Spurs' average finishing position in the Premier League since it started in 1992 is 5th. So if we're in and around that position, that feels about okay. And then, like the boys have said, a cup run. You know, I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't get a trophy, but our ambition as a football club, you know, if we win the Carabao Cup or if we win the Europa Conference League, is that really going to kick us on? Maybe it will. Maybe it will. But I think getting back into the top 4,
it's key, isn't it?
For the revenue for the players is absolutely critical. But what I would say on that point, just quickly, is we only got into the top 4 for the first time in the 15-16 season. By the end of that, when we finished, I know we finished 3rd, but in my head, we've still finished 2nd. So we've only actually been in the Champions League in the last kind of for like 4 years or so, or 4 years, and then we've been out of it again. So there's an air of arrogance about us Tottenham fans thinking that we have a right to be in the Champions League. But we don't. We don't, because our average finishing position, like I just said, is 5th. So we are punching above our weight if we do get into the top 4. So that should be our ambition. And I think, you know, but realistically, I think we'll finish 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
Rick, can I just say, Rick, this season is definitely about progression and direction, and I believe that we have progressed and we are going in the right direction. So that has got to be, you know, the most positive thing about this season, because of course, as I said at the very start, the last 18 months or so, you know, you can blame Jose Mourinho, you can blame whatever you want, but it has been very, very negative. So, you know, a lot of the Spurs fans are smiling again, and that has got to be, you know, something special again, because we're all smiling, we're all happy. We've won 3 out of 3. New managers come in, and it's about onwards and upwards.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's the perfect way to end this one. Let me say a massive thanks to a smiling Jason McGovern after a trophy winner. Jason, thank you so much as always. Always a pleasure.
Smiling when it always shuts, mate. Smiling when it
Oh.
shuts.
I know you love it. I
Smiling
know
when
you
it
do.
shuts.
Oh dear. A massive thank you to the wonderful Chris Cowley. Listen, I've got to say, if you haven't checked out Chris's channel, please make sure you do. Great content on there. Always laughs. It almost is, like I say, his Sunday chats that he has. It's just like guys down the pub, quite literally at times. You actually, the background noises again makes it even more special. Chris, please tell us where we can find the channel and obviously all your details. Please go away. Please tell us.
Is that a nice way of saying it's so unprofessional, like this channel?
No, mate, no. Listen.
It was, wasn't it? Do you know what, Rick? I still haven't recovered after last night of Ramon Vega. So
I haven't recovered. I'm recorded just this.
Do you know what, Chris? I haven't recovered from Ramon Vega's performance at Barnsley all those years ago when he got sent off. I haven't recovered from that.
No,
but it was incredible. If you haven't seen it, you've got to go and check it out. Honestly, guys, if you haven't seen it on Chris's channel, Ramon Vega's performance last night, some would argue that's his best performance ever in a Spurs shirt. I tell you, it was quite incredible, Chris. I think we could both believe what we were watching or seeing or hearing, to be honest with you. It was incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been great talking to all three of you tonight. It's been great.
Yeah, and I say make sure you can check his channel out. Great content on there as always. Great stuff. Like I say, daily news updates on there. Make sure you check that out. And also the wonderful, the exuberant Mr. Lee McQueen riding our crazy train for us throughout the season. Lee, we're in for another. We called it electric train, didn't we? On the last train, we've upgraded.
I think there's coal going in there, so it's on the electric track now. Look, I think the most impressive thing that we can see is that there is a plan, there is a direction, like you guys have just said, and I think for me that's massively important. It means that we can get everybody pulling in the right direction, and who knows, when you've got momentum, when you've got that attitude and that mentality to say let's go for it and that togetherness. Who knows where we can go? And let's aim for high and see where we go. It's not going to be a shame. It's not going to be shameful if we finish 5th in the Premier League. But it'll be amazing if we can get back into the top 4. So come on, let's do it, boys.
Totally agree. Like I say, guys, for guys listening, watching this live action on International Night, thank you ever so much. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We appreciate every single subscription that comes our way. So thank you so much. As always, most importantly, keep safe. Keep well and healthy. And as always, come on, you Spurs.